Now over to you.
Good afternoon to respected dignitaries, guests of the day, HOIs of various departments, faculty members, and my dear audience. I, Khushi Mishra, along with my co-host Ankita Parihar from BA Honours English 5th semester, here to welcome you. It is a pleasure to welcome you to the sixth day of 30 hours workshop on the topic Path to Developed India, Awakened Youth, Skill Development and Strong Leadership. विकसित भारत की राह जागृत युवा कौशल विकास एवं नेतृत्व. Taking you back to your previous session, Sir enlightened us on the importance of Indian knowledge system and Panchtantra. He talked how Panchtantra offer a resource of wisdom that transcends time. He also said that far from being mere tales for children, the Panchtantra is a profound work of literature that offers valuable insight into human being, ethics, governance, and strategy.
It is with my great pleasure and privilege to introduce our Honorable Director of Amity School of Languages, Professor Dr. Kumkum Beg. Her visionary leadership and unwavering commitment have been instrumental in shaping the success of our institution. With sincere admiration and gratitude, I extend a warm invitation to our exceptional head of department, whose brilliance and inspiration have been a constant source of motivation.
Good afternoon, everybody. बहुत बहुत namaskar सबको. I'm so glad to have Dr. Priyanka Tripathi joining us from Bihar. So her perceptions would be adding to fresh aspects of Viksit Bharat or Vikas के जागरूकता की ओर. We have been really lucky to have such wonderful speakers to enlighten our students for Viksit Bharat and also Yuva Jagrita. All these parameters add up to the leadership of students. So without taking much time, and I am requesting Dr. Priyanka Tripathi to start her session. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, madam. I just don't have any words to thank you because I have known you through virtual platforms like Facebook and all, so social media platforms for such a long time. And I remember meeting you when I was doing my PhD in Lucknow University. And it's such a delight that there was this I-class conference. Yes, ma'am.
I remember very well. And when I saw you taking on a responsible role at IIT Patna, I was really very happy to see one of our youngsters from Lucknow reaching to heights which are really a feeling of pride for all those of us who are linked with Lucknow.
Thank you so much, madam. So, first of all, I mean, I think the very good topic.
Excuse me, ma'am, just one thing, please. Ma'am, can you please give us time to introduce you?
Okay. I thought ma'am said, please go ahead, and I went ahead.
No, it's okay, ma'am. Okay, yes, please.
Yes, Ankita.
Now, I would like to hand invite our guest, Dr. Priyanka Tripathi. Dr. Tripathi is an associate professor of English and former head of the Department of Humanities and Social Sciences at the Indian Institute of Technology, Patna. She is also the co-executive editor of the Journal of International Women's Studies, published by the Bridgewater State University. She has been awarded the prestigious Charles Wallace India Trust Visiting Fellowship 2024-2025 at the School of History, University of Leeds. She was also awarded the IPD Visiting Research Fellowship 2022-2023 at IASH University of Edinburgh. She has published extensively in the Journal of Gender Studies, Journal of Graphic Novels and Comics, Geohumanities, and Economic and Political Weekly, amongst others. Her monograph with Bloomsbury is titled The Gendered War, Evaluating Feminist Ethnographic Narratives of the 1971 War of Bangladesh. She works in the areas of gender studies, South Asian fiction, geohumanities, and graphic novels. We are privileged to have ma'am with us today, and we look forward to gaining from her profound insights and extensive experience in the field of English literature. Ma'am will be giving a lecture on the topic Traditional Visual Storytelling, Rereading Indian Folk Tales. The platform is yours now, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Disha. It is wonderful that Dr. Srivastav invited me for this very ambitious, if not anything else, I can call, which is on Viksit Bharat Ki Raah, Jagrit Yuva Kaushal Vikas Evam Sudrida Netritva. And I speak from my own experience on field. Uh, I broadly work in gender studies, like you might have seen in my profile. But for my project, I usually choose areas wherein my research could make some kind of difference, and once, and also towards contributing to the state that gives me so much in terms of identity and everything else. So there is a project I am doing on digitizing Madhubani, and when Dr. Srivastav asked me to speak, I thought maybe this was a good idea to take up how a story, visual storytelling takes place, and connect it with folk tales and IKS. I will share my slides, and that should help you see my screen. So when I talk about traditional visual storytelling, this is an art form which is very prevalent in India. Uh, Not just prevalent, but also preserved and retold across generations, a very cherished medium for sure. And therefore, when I take up the tradition of visual retelling, rereading Indian folk tales, I pick up a very small caveat, though if you open it goes on like a Pandora's box, various layers you can find out, which will be which I don't think I can do justice in 1 hour, but I'll try to do as much as I can. So here is a overview of what I'm going to look at in this presentation. I will talk about the introduction of IKS. I will talk a little bit about visual storytelling. I will talk about cave paintings. I will talk about rock cult sculptures. I will talk about Indian folk paintings, and I will try to connect it all with IKS, NEP 2020, and Indian folk tales. Now, these connections lead to these objectives where I slightly take up a very brief introduction to the Indian knowledge system, which, we are living in an age of decolonization. I think when I was doing this whole project on decoloniality at University of Edinburgh, there was one very prominent thing that they said and simplified the role of decolonization for me. I think I was seeing it all through the lens of post-colonialism, but when I went there, they said everything and anything that has to do with de-westernization is actually colonization. And there is where I thought maybe retaining what is indigenous to in India is also part of Indian knowledge system. I also take up understanding visual storytelling through that thread, and looking into the Indian tradition of visual storytelling, aspects of Indian folk art, connecting with IKS and NEP 2020, and what could be the challenges and solutions to this alignment that we chalk out. So what is Indian knowledge system? When we talk about Indian knowledge system, it has been passed through generations using various methods such as dramatic performances, literary works, oral traditions, and much more. One of these is visual arts. These forms have played a crucial role in preserving and transmitting the rich cultural, intellectual, and spiritual heritages of India. So, if we talk about these particular threads, we know that this knowledge originated from the Indian subcontinent. And when I take up Indian subcontinent, it is the undivided kind of a subcontinent that I'm talking about. When we take up knowledge, we talk about accumulated wisdom, information, and practices based on our own socio-cultural experiments, traditions, and also the kind of experiment, I mean, the kind of changes over a period of time that has happened within these knowledge systems. And a system, of course, you know, it's a structured methodology or an interconnectedness between the frameworks that are available. So in these subjects, we will find primarily these four aspects: Vedas, Puranas, and Upanishads. We talk about philosophy, in which we talk about Vedanta, Sankhya, Yoga, Jainism, Buddhism, all kinds of philosophical traditions of India. In art, music, and literature, of course, that is what I will take up a little bit today, and astrology and astronomy. In visual storytelling, what else is part? We take up the art of communicating messages, emotions, narratives, and information in a way which reaches viewers at a deep and lasting level. It is also rich visuals that, which are recorded of the real world. So if you see any of these paintings of Madhubani art, if I take up specifically, you will find that in each painting there is a story which is drawn. It is not just like that painting has been uh, made. So you will find that and that is what we are also archiving in terms of digitizing Madhubani. So when we talk about visual storytelling through Indian folk art, we find that there is an interplay of visual and oral narratives. So in Indian folk art, there is a merging of visual imagery with oral storytelling, offering a unified narrative that helps preserve cultural heritage through a rich, immersive experience. Beyond aesthetics, Indian folk art educates and imparts moral lessons, historical knowledge, and religious teachings. So you will find that they are very much didactic in their approach, where there is not a very unilateral kind of a mix. Rather, there is a mix of different threads of our existence fused within that storytelling. Let me first go as an instant is this story of the sun and the moon in a Gond painting, which is of Madhya Pradesh. This story, this is illustrating the mythological tale where the sun and moon, once married, become separated due to their quarrels. The painting often depicts their separation and the celestial dance they perform, symbolizing the cycles of day and light. So it was a very unique way of taking reflection or taking a slice of life from human beings and carving it into a painting using the metaphor of sun and moon. Then there are cave paintings. If you see this cave painting, before you know this, we started having these pages and screens and projectors. We People used to paint on cave walls. Even if you go to both Gaya or Nalanda, you will find that there are beautiful cave paintings where they have carved the history in many ways. So let us take look at some of the cave paintings. So there is this Bhimbetka caves, and uh, they are primarily in the Vindhya range, and they date back to 2000 BCE or 3000 BCE to approximately 7000 BC, and showcase early artistic expression through detailed depictions of religious and everyday life. They are primarily in Madhya Pradesh, India, and they depict themes of hunting, dancing, and rituals. They also feature animals, human beings, and abstract patterns which offer insights into early human life and belief system. So you will find that the dwellings of people and their interaction with different forms of nature and different forms of socio-cultural practices, all these become part of their life and hence is reflected in the paintings of Bhimbetka caves in the Vindhya region. If you see this particular painting, you will find that there are animals and human figures crafted using a combination of fine lines and bold outlines to convey movement and emotion. So there is just one picture which I have picked up from Wikimedia Commons. Similarly, in Ajanta caves, we will see that they are from 2nd century BC to the 6th century BC. And they are also very famous for their detailed paintings depicting Buddhist themes. Artists used fresco techniques, applied mineral-based pigments on wet plaster for vibrant, lasting colors. And these patterns in the paintings include intricate borders and decorative motifs, enhancing the storytelling and visual appeal of the artwork. The murals illustrate Jataka tales, stories of the Buddha's past life, featuring narratives of moral lessons and spiritual journeys. So you see from the Bhimbetka caves, these were different. Where in Bhimbetka caves, we find the human life's interaction with nature and wildlife. In this, we take up their journey into a spiritual path as well. If you see, this is Chandanta's sacrifice. This painting in itself is a story conveying ancient Indian value of sacrifice and selflessness. So it's a mythical elephant. Chandanta is a mythical elephant who lived in the Himalayas, and he was blessed with two wives. He showered his first with love and gifts, which ignited jealousy in the other. Driven by vengeance, she incarcerated as the Queen of Benares. Feigning illness, the queen demanded Chandanta's tusk as a cure. Hunters were dispatched to capture the gentle giant. Understanding her depiction, or Chandanta, a bodhisattva, willingly sacrificed his prized possessions to save her. The queen, upon seeing his selfless act, was consumed by remorse and died of grief. The tale is about how anger and jealousy returned to harm the originator. Chandata's thorough compassion demonstrated the power of forgiveness and selflessness. So, if you see this painting, it's very clear on uh, in, instilling this value system around which uh, not just the society in the 5th century BCE, but also now how these values are timeless, we take up. There are Ellora caves where you find that these paintings also preserve, exhibit, and narrate the belief system and cultural spiritual life of the Indians. The style, the technique, the themes, all are mostly similar to Ajanta caves. I mean, you will find that there are similar kind of stories from Hindu, Buddhist, and Jain traditions representing gods, goddesses and mythological scenes. Let's take, for example, the Nataraja painting, which depicts Lord Shiva in a pose symbolizing cosmic creation and destruction. So, if you see this particular painting, which is the Nataraja painting, it's an iconic painting of dancing Shiva. Then there are rock cut sculptures, which are architectural marvels that are uh, carved into solid rock, often depicting religions, uh, mythologies, or historical themes. So within this, we have two particular caves, Elephanta caves and Badami caves, which you might have heard of at some point of time while reading uh, anything to do with art and heritage of India. So the Elephanta and Badami are famous for their rock cut Hindu and Buddhist sculptures. And since ancient times, we find that these art has been preserved to act as a bridge between the wisdom of the past and the need of future generations, helping address socio-cultural and existential issues. They often take on symbolic forms rather than being expressed through clear written documentation. The images, if you see, they depict the depiction of Trimurti sculpture. You will find that, so if you see here, maybe there is a sculpture of Trimurti and Ardhanarishwar in the first six paintings. They portray a colossal representation of the Hindu god Shiva with three faces. This sculpture illustrates the concept of Shiva as a great lord encompassing creation, preservation, and destruction. The central face represents that of a creator, which is Brahm. The right face symbolizes the preserver, which is the Vishnu. And the left embodies the destroyer, the Shiva himself. So you will find that the central, the left and the right and the left, both all three have certain meaning, and they are all very much here. The Ardhanarishwar is also embodiment of the Indian concept of Purush and Prakriti, the cosmic masculine and feminine principles, highlighting the interconnectedness of the existence. Similarly, the sculptures of the Badami caves in Karnataka presents the 18-handed Shiva and Lord Vishnu in Varaha avatar. So, I mean, if I don't know if you know about the Varaha script also, which is part of, if you opt for this uh, any other script of writing on keyboard than English, you will find that there is a Varaha script as well. So the story here illustrated here involves Vishnu rescuing the earth, which is personified as goddess Bhudevi from the demon Hiranyakashipu, who had submerged it into the cosmic ocean. So you will find that all these paintings are symbolic representation of creator, nurturer, destroyer, resurgence, all in different forms. In terms of Indian folk paintings, they are deeply entwined with the country's ancient wisdom and philosophies. These art forms often embody philosophical concepts, cultural narratives, and ethical teachings. For instance, traditional motives and symbols in folk paintings like Madhubani, I was talking about, or Varli, often reflect themes from Indian epics, religious texts, and local folklore, conveying ideas about the cosmos, human life, and moral values. Let's take a look at some of the paintings. So, in Madhubani paintings, you will find that these paintings originated from Mithila, Bihar. And if you go into the history of it, you will find its root in the Ramayana era. In these paintings, you will find that when there was a wedding taking place of Ram, the house was different houses were adorned to mark this occasion, and for this they used natural dyes on mud walls. Of course, now it's on cloth and paper. And fingers, twigs, and brushes were used to draw these paintings. They depicted Hindu deities, epics, nature, and daily life. They were also symbols that were taken up. So if there is a fish, it is of fertility. Even now in Bengali weddings, in Mithila weddings, when the marriage takes place, the fish is decorated very beautifully and given, because it's a symbol of fertility. And marriage, of course, was primarily promulgated as the space where one of the reproduction was one of the chief aim of marriage. So hence that symbol was taken up. Peacock was all about beauty, lotus was all about purity, bamboo was all about growth, and elephants were that of power. So you will find that these images reflect Mithila's culture and folklore. And in modern times, it's diversifying itself. I mean, I remember doing some kind of field work in Patna, where we came across issues that were very social taken up in Mithila painting, something like dowry, female feticide, women empowerment through education, all these aspects, which for me, digitizing was important, because I am digitizing it from the perspective of gender, and I'm taking up if there is some kind of other aspects that it talks about. So I'm surely looking at the changing socio-cultural times and how Mithila painting has changed its contours to suit the current temperament. So if you see this particular it's the most common Mithila painting, which is on the union of Lord Ram and Sita, and the couple adorned in resplendent attire and celestial ornaments exchange wedding garlands amidst a vibrant cosmic backdrop. The bride Sita is portrayed with delicate features and serene grace, while Rama exudes princely charm and divine authority. Their figures rendered in bold earthy colors, the overall composition exude a sense of divine bliss and marital harmony. The painting's rich colors and meticulous detailing capture the essence of a sacred and joyous occasion. So if you see this entire painting, except for the hair, there is hardly a trace of black, and there are a lot of flowers, usage of very bright colors like yellow, blue, red, orange, green are there. Similarly, uh, there are these two paintings that depict artists taking up social evils and how they incorporate this social evil in these two paintings. Because, like I said, it's not related to uh, the conventional or the traditional depiction anymore of just wedding, though it started as a space from of wedding. It doesn't uh, stick to that. So if you see in the first one, this Madhubani painting is depicting women protesting against dowry, which is a social event. And in the second one, it's about beti bachao, if not beti padhao, which is, you see there is a doctor who's doing the ultrasound and finding if it is a female fetus, and how there can be a change in this scenario. So social sensitization is done through this. In terms of Warli painting in Maharashtra, we find that, which is dating back to 2500 to 300 BC, we also find that it's centered on Mother Nature. Warli paintings highlight elements of nature, farming, and daily life. A prominent theme of this art form is the Tarpa dance, where villagers dance in a circle around a Tarpa player representing the circle of life. The techniques involve painting on the walls of huts marking special occasions like wedding and harvest. The Adivasi Yuva Seva Sangh NGO, it's an NGO which it started with, I mean, it has registered itself with a JI tag under intellectual property rights to protect and promote this heritage. So they have been doing a lot of work in terms of preserving the Varli painting. So if you see, a lot of activities of village is given in this. We find that the painting is reflecting of communities' daily activities, social structure, and cultural practices, and very scenic kind of a background. The sun comes up, the tree is having a lot of flowers, there is mountain and there is forest, completely highlighting the geographical context of Varli villages. So you will find this kind of an image in Varli paintings, and Adivasi Yuva Seva Sangh NGO is trying to protect this particular art, which has extreme reflection of natural flora and fauna of Maharashtra. If you see again, like I talked about Madhubani advancing itself uh, and aligning itself with the current contemporary issues, even in Varli painting, you will find that there has been a contemporarization. So if you see this particular painting, it's a painting on COVID. It has become a tool to comment on current happenings around the world, like this painting drawn during the times of COVID-19, depicting symbolic representation of hope, healing, and eventual recovery. And in the second one, we find that the Mother Earth uh, is the focus and the focus of environmentalism. The image could symbolize the delicate balance of the ecosystem, with the snake representing the foundation of life and earth representing the environment that depends on it. So there is a snake and there is an earth which has taken the balance. So it talks about that particular time. Then there are also fard paintings in Rajasthan. Now, see, when I'm talking about these visual storytelling, each one of these paintings have had.
तुम्हारी आवाज रिकॉर्डिंग में वैसी
Hello? Hello? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are
Oh,
audible.
okay. I just heard some disturbance. I thought maybe my voice has gone away.
No,
So,
no, no.
yeah. So in each of these paintings, you will find that a huge amount of work has been done. Uh, the idea to talk about these painting is primarily driven by the fact that uh, there are still smaller caveats that could be taken up for research, and that's why I'm kind of introducing this fard paintings as well, which originated primarily from Rajasthan and are created on hand woven cotton cloth, which is soaked in starch to thicken the threads, then stretched, dried, and smoothened. They depict religious narratives of local deities like Papuji and Dev Narayan. The paintings are used in performances where the bhopas narrate stories accompanied by song and dance. In, in contemporary times, these fard paintings have expanded to include themes from Indian epics and are often created in smaller sizes to suit contemporary settings. These paintings are known for their meticulous line work, with both inner and outer lines drawn precisely to create a sense of movement. The use of dots and dashes adds detail and enhances the dynamic quality of the images. So if you see this particular image, so very beautiful. Again, it's a marriage scene. It's a Papuji's marriage is depicted with elaborate detail, showcasing the traditional wedding ceremony of this revered folk hero. The scroll portrays Papuji dressed in vibrant attire, surrounded by key figures from the story, including his bride and family members. This depiction follows the far tradition of narrating stories through detailed symbolic energy. So, if you see, there are banana leaves, there are horses, there is elephant, there are beautifully adorned people who are part of the marriage ceremony drawn, and very intricate patterns even in terms of the skirts that these ladies are wearing. You will find that there are golden dots, and within those golden dots there are small little paintings that are done. Similarly, if you see this particular image which talks about Lord Rama's coronation, or Rajyabhishek as it is called, you will find that it also has a very long scroll. The depiction is basically about Lord Rama's anointment as king of Ayodhya. And you will again find very intricate details in terms of colors and fine lines and dots presented over here. And also it's written Ram Rajyabhishek. So you will find that into this image. Finally, I think I'll talk about Kali Ghat paintings, originated primarily from the 19th century Kolkata, and a distinct Indian art form which is created by patuas, scroll painters. They are from rural Bengal. Named after the Kali Ghat Kali temple, this style evolved from traditional Patachitra art into a more accessible format suited for an urban market. Kalighat paintings depicted a range of subjects, including Hindu deities, everyday life, and contemporary events. So I remember in Patachitra, they had made this paintings on palm leaves, and mostly of divine figures that was incorporated, and you could just fold those palm leaves and bring it. So it was very contemporary method of transport. Also, that I thought when I had seen those paintings, and common motives include Kali, Durga, and Vishnu, as well as scenes of social life and satire of colonial and local society. The paintings were popular amongst pilgrims and tourists as souvenirs, and were also collected by Europeans, contributing to their spread. The art provided a medium for social critique, often using caricatures to comment on societal issues and the behaviors of various social classes. Kalighat paintings reflected the complexities of 19th century Bengal society, including the changes brought by British colonialism. They captured both the traditional and the modern themes, religious figures, local scandals, showcasing the the social landscape of that particular time, and also something that was moving forward. So I present here two, I mean, images from the Kalighat paintings: Hanuman and Ravan wrestling, and goddess Durga killing Mahisura. So if you see the Hanuman and Ravan wrestling, it's basically the demon king who got engaged in a fierce struggle. And the artwork reflects significant moment from the Ramayana, illustrating epic battle between the good and the evil with a strong visual impact. So if you see, the Ravan is very visually appealing, but within that scape of painting, you also find that the goodness, despite its simplicity, makes a way for how power dynamics is not only contingent upon the physical power, but also the mental strength. Similarly, in the other artwork, where you see goddess Durga killing Mahisasura, you find that it's about strength and victory, in which she slays Mahisasura, who's a demon, and Durga is shown riding a tiger, wielding multiple weapons as she defeats the demon, symbolizing the triumph of good over evil. And her powerful stance and detailed depiction of Mahisasura defeat underscore the divine victory and the description of malevolence. So, in one image, you find that there are many hands, but these are the hands of evil. On another side, you find that there are also many hands, but they are the sign of goodness. So it doesn't matter how physical strength connotes certain aspects. The inner goodness also leads to the trajectory, is something that we come across in these images. You also find the contemporary scene. The first one is that of Tarkeshwar affair. So this painting illustrates the aftermath of the Tarkeshwar murder case. It was a very prominent case, a scandal which involved a violent crime at a temple. The scene depicts a key moment of the incident, including the confrontation and subsequent punishment of the perpetrators. This artwork serves as a historical snapshot, blending social commentary with narrative illustration of a high profile scandal. The second one is that of a duel between Englishman and an Indian. Again, it captures a moment of colonial struggle, showcasing the complex interactions between the colonizer and the local population. And of course, the third one, where the Bibi is hitting Babu with a broom, you will find that this is BB's assertive action, and Babu is surprised because it's a satirical commentary on class and gender dynamics. It's a humorous take, but Kali Ghat paintings were not also devoid of this. Is something that uh, I'm trying to kind of show. Uh, we understand that cultural preservation is key aspect of achieving the vision of Viksit Bharat. So when we talk about the Viksit Bharat concept of 2047, we know that it talks about an India which is not unidirectionally uh, developed, but developed in a multifaceted way, but with strong sense of its own roots. Now, this vision seeks to transform India into prosperous, inclusive, and sustainable nation encompassing various dimensions such as economic growth, social equity, technological advancement, and the protection and promotion of its cultural heritage. Now, we often talk about soft power. So, what is this soft power? It is the cultural heritage of a particular place, which is soft power. So, definitely, when we talk about development, it is inclusive of this soft power. Now, to achieve this ambitious goal, India has new education policy 2020, which emphasizes the integration of IKS into educational curriculums, and visual folk tales rich in with its traditional wisdom and cultural narratives serve as a vital component of the Indian knowledge system, reflecting historical values, beliefs, and societal norms through artistic expression. NEP 2020 supports the integration of such traditional knowledge into the educational framework to promote holistic and inclusive learning. So you will find that across universities, when there is a change of syllabus, even within the English literature syllabus, we are not restricting only ourselves to teaching Bacon and Shakespeare. We are taking up a lot of material from the Indian writing and infusing it, blending it rather, to suit the current temperament of decolonization or de-westernization. Of course, when we talk about the Atmanirbhar Bharat, these art forms, narratives, and philosophies we have discussed here are often viewed as historical artifacts preserved in the museums. However, they are more than that. They are not just the remnants of the glorious past. They can actively help India reclaim and achieve greatness all in one go. And therefore, when we talk about Atmanirbhar Bharat, reworking on Indian folk tales is and reworking on ancient knowledge system is a must. So there are five aspects of reworking that I talk about, and with this I will kind of close. We talk about the cultural dependence that was there during the colonial times, and how India redeemed itself from those alternative Western models. Because if you take up India's ancient knowledge systems, including Ayurveda, yoga, and traditional agricultural practice, they offer valuable insights into sustainable living, health, and well being. By networking into different domains and integrating these systems with modern education, healthcare, and lifestyle, India can promote alternatives to Western models that often dominate global discourse. I remember a great shift happening in even the writing practice so to say. Earlier, we would, when we used to write our articles, we could only take up a theoretical model which was Western and easily pull an article which was on Indian writing. But now, the moment we take up Indian writing, we have to also take up some kind of Indian alternate model within it, so that there has to be a kind of a coherence within the writing scape also. Uh, Reworking these folk tales, an ancient knowledge system in education, can foster critical thinking and a more balanced view among students and all these people who are not only part of academics, but also how academics shapes up the social cultural life. By incorporating these into curriculum, India can reduce reliance on Western academic frameworks and promote intellectual independence. This shift encourages the recognition of diverse epistemologies and validates indigenous ways of knowing. There is then cultural diplomacy and soft power, in which we find that Indian folk tales and ancient knowledge systems can be powerful tools in cultural democracy. Sharing these narratives globally can showcase India's cultural diversity and philosophical depth, countering monolithic Western portrayals and contributing to a more nuanced understanding of India. This cultural diplomacy can enhance India's soft power, making it a cultural leader on the global stage. Uh, in terms of encouraging cultural innovation and creativity, we find that reinterpreting and reimagining folk tales can also inspire new creative works in literature, cinema, and other arts, blending traditional themes with contemporary issues. This not only revitalizes traditional culture, but also makes it relevant to modern audiences, encouraging cultural innovation and creativity. Of course, then it also challenges the stereotypes that are promoted otherwise and misrepresentations that have been perpetuated by the Western societies. These stories, the stories that we talk about in very briefly through different kind of paintings, they offer a rich complex view of Indian society, countering simplistic or negative portrayals and promoting a more accurate and uh, uh, respectful understanding of Indian culture. And by reworking and rephrasing these folk tales and ancient knowledge systems, India can also liberate itself from the cultural dependence and assert its unique identity, or rather identities, because India is a diverse country, and contribution to global knowledge. And this process not only enriches India's cultural landscape, but also contributes to a more diverse and inclusive global culture. So I would like to, end this with what Dr. Kalam said at one point of time. He said, India's ancient knowledge systems have the power to address modern challenges and enrich our future. Thank you so much.
Very, very interesting. And the way you have reconnected the visual art with NEP is a great insight for our students. Also, visual art as a part and a background of performing art would be a great synthesis of ancient knowledge systems being forwarded. So it was a wonderful session, Priyanka. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much, ma'am.
Thank you so
Any
much,
questions?
ma'am. Your insights were truly enlightening. On behalf of everyone here today, I want to extend our sincere gratitude for sharing your knowledge and expertise with us. Your contribution to the workshop has been invaluable and will take us to new heights. Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
attention and participation throughout this session. As we come to end of this session, we have one final opportunity to engage with our esteemed speaker. To all the participants, if you have any question, please type them in chat box or use the raise hand feature. Once recognized, you can unmute yourself and ask your question directly.
Are there any questions? Please raise your hands or write them in the chat box.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
So my question is, how do different regions in India influence the styles and theme of folk tales?
Yeah, they will always influence. That's what I was talking about. So if you take up the Madhubani art, it is very different from how it is in Kalighat. Naturally, the Patachitra, Patachitra is usually drawn on palm leaves. So there has to be an availability of palm leaves. So it's not only in terms of content, but also in terms of where and what it is used. So if you see, I can broadly talk about Madhubani. So if you see, the initial paintings were all on the walls, but now it is not like that. I remember going to Bangalore. I was in I had gone there, and I came out of this office in front of National Law School, and I saw there is this big gate which has Madhubani painting. And I saw, and I was like, it has traveled here. And I was speaking with somebody, and they said it has also traveled to Northeast. And then at so many places. So of course we understand that there has been a huge globalization impact on these paintings, but at the same time, this is what we have to refrain ourselves from, because the cultural context from which they come is essential to the making of that particular painting, and therefore we cannot take away that particular indigenous element from it. And that is the whole point of introducing the different kind of paintings. You have to go there and understand and try to locate all these issues within the scope and scape of that particular region from where that painting is coming from. So no,
Great
just this,
painting.
just this. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add on that the first great paintings I saw were in Robert Ganj and of course Bhimbetka. But Robert Ganj paintings were basically cavern paintings with, I think it was red, the stone, this thing on the color, ochre color, and they were about the early Stone Age. And then when I read into the physical geography of the Vindhyan Ranges as the oldest set of mountains, and that is why probably the oldest civilizations existed among those mountains and the caves. And there are calcified forests which show the backing of going back to thousands and thousands of years. Also in Madhya Pradesh, in the Shivaliks, there are metamorphized rocks with trees, means the trees which were about 400, 500 feet high, they have been metamorphosed into just 2-inch rocks. They had been, this process of metamorphization was going on for centuries. And that is where our ancient knowledge systems come from. And it was a very good way you have talked of the influence and the extension of this knowledge to not only performing arts but the addition of visual art. So that's a great contribution, and your talk was really interesting.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, are there any more questions?
Or else you can always feel free to write to me if there are questions later on. My email ID is pretty much there on the IIT Patna website. Otherwise, I'm Priyanka Tripathi @iitp.ac.in.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Ma'am, I have a question. Like, how has the tradition visual story is evolved in India?
That's what I spoke for 1 hour.
Yes, the orality of Indian knowledge systems, everything works from centuries because of the orality, and oral things were then transcribed into writing and visual arts.
See, people did not have a language earlier which could be written. Devanagari came very late, but images were there, and that is the importance of visual culture. And that is why when we talk about indigenous, we go back to oral tradition, we go back to the paintings, we go back to the metaphors that were available. So we have to see, when you see a rock which is kept in some museum, it's not just a rock, it's the symbol of the times that it has seen. So like that, like you go to Jaipur and see all these clothes of rajas and maharajas. What is the significance? There is no word involved, but when you see those ornaments, you see those clothes, you get a feel of the temperament and time that they were part of. So like that. So I saw there's those corsets women wore to tighten themselves in terms of how their shape would look like. So which clearly meant that women had to have that kind of vanity even in terms of their external appearances. So despite no color coding, no guidelines written that okay fine, you have to wear this and you have to wear, the costume in itself became an image of how women modesty and vanity was taken care of at that point of time. So something like that, I think that is what we have been highlighting on through different forms. So even costume, the image of a costume from different museums can be a part of indigenous knowledge system. And there is where we have to start thinking of what original contributions we have to make of the already preserved or not so preserved heritage that we have inherited. We are living in the best times, I tell you, and I'm sure ma'am will agree to this, that it's a very right time to take up, like initially when I was a student in MA, or maybe people who are my contemporary, we were discouraged to think something new. And there was a lot of emphasis on
Like every theory was Western and applied, and nobody, I mean, if you ever related to our past ancient knowledge system, they would say, oh, this is, this is just backward thinking. Nothing, no
yes,
importance was, which is being now given in our Amrit Kal, which is a very big, matter of pride. That is,
yes.
they're really grateful to be seeing this Amrit Kal youth and taking on the pride of our ancient systems of visual arts, performing arts, sculpture, culture, everything. So I think we can close the session now.
Yes,
Yes,
Please
please.
take
students,
Yes,
it.
ma'am.
please carry forward.
If there are no further questions, we will proceed to the final segment of this session.
Thank you for the questions and thank you, ma'am, for answering them so diligently. Before we end the session, I would request everyone to fill the feedback form and complete the assignment within 24 hours. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We hope to see you all for tomorrow's session by Dr. Saurav Banerjee, Associate Professor of English, Mahitosh Nandi Mahavidyalaya, on the topic Legacy of Indian Knowledge System and its role and scope in teaching English. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much, Dr. Srivastav, and everybody else associated with this program. I think it's one of the best sessions I've been part of, because it gave me an opportunity not only to talk about something that I have been doing for the past few months, but also opening up avenues where you can think of something and adding to the existing body of work, which is very central to the temperament that we are living in. The current times. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you so much,
Thank you
ma'am.
so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.